This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Good morning, Dan and Amy, and the eulogies have been offered, and I will remember everything that Arizona Cardinals great Larry Fitzgerald had to say about John McCain, and nothing what the Assembly of Politicians had to say. Larry Fitzgerald was a personal, thoughtful note that he struck, and I really enjoyed his comments about McCain.
He ran for president. I run out of bounds. He was the epitome of toughness, and I do everything I can to avoid contact. I have flowing locks, and well, he didn't. How does this unlikely pair become friends? I've asked myself the same question. But do you know what the answer is? That's just who he is. Over the several years, I had the privilege of spending time with Senator McCain. Sometimes it was just a visit to our practices. Other times it was him texting and saying, "Oh, you need to pick it up this Sunday." I'm thankful that through these moments, the opportunity that we had to share our lives, and more importantly, our stories. While from very different worlds, we developed a meaningful friendship.
And Larry Fitzgerald actually went to Vietnam, to the prisoner of war camp, to see where John McCain had survived all those years and where he gained his perseverance and strength to continue.
That's a cool friendship, and that's what a service like that should be about. It shouldn't be about preening politicians trying to score political points like Biden. It's just insufferable. For more on this and other topics, we're pleased to be joined again by Bret Baier, Fox News anchor. Special report, 5 p.m. weekdays, Chicago time. And also the book, 3 Days in Moscow, Ronald Reagan and the Fall of the Soviet Empire. Brett had to show up for work today because Chuck Todd told him to. Right. Brett, thanks for being with us. Appreciate it.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah,
so
do you
listen,
think
Larry Fitzgerald is a friend of mine, too, and he
oh, cool.
We play golf together on some charity events, and he is salt of the earth. I mean, I don't think you could get a better guy and a total stud, so that was great to see.
Yeah, that was very cool. So, Brett, Chuck Todd said there's a big bombshell coming today, or if one is going to come, is really, I think, what he was saying. It's going to be today because then you're at the Labor Day to November 6th Election Day window, and so Mueller is going to go silent with any new developments in that window so as to not be perceived as trying to influence the election. Anything that you're hearing of a new development with the Mueller investigation?
No, I don't know what Chuck's hearing, but we're not hearing much movement today. Listen, I'd be surprised if they do it. It's really going to be interesting to see. I mean, you're within the 70-day window already for the election. So, I think there's a real sensitivity, especially after all that happened with Jim Comey, to do anything that is perceived to affect any election. And if I had to put my money down, not knowing what Chuck Todd knows, I think I would say he waits till after the election.
Yeah, so he has either today and then to wait till after the election, right? There's no...
I think so. Yeah, I think so. I mean, I'd be surprised if it's today, but maybe it is.
Trump in Indiana yesterday, of course, part of the important part of the campaign trail with a good possibility to pick up a Senate seat there. Interesting comments about justice and FBI suggesting that he is going to get involved, essentially take a more personal role in the operation of the FBI and the Department of Justice if they don't get their act together. And this is something that I think people thought he should have done a long time ago. But there seems to be a hesitancy to do it because you don't want to be perceived as, trying to obstruct justice, and those calls are inevitably going to come if he makes personnel moves or takes a more important role. But I think the president has a case to make that the FBI and the DOJ, because of the conduct of their senior leadership, has lost a lot of legitimacy. He mentioned that when he said people are angry, and those are important agencies. their integrity is important. It needs to be restored, and that's why I'm getting involved. It seems like he could make that case.
He could. You know, the people that are angry, the primary one is him.
Yes,
He's talked about it like that before, but we're hearing that as soon as next week, the president could, declassify those redacted documents, the FISA documents that Devin Nunes has wanted to get unredacted. And I think that on the outskirts is some way where he actually acts, and it is within his purview to declassify anything he wants to declassify.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, that calls for that for a long time. And so you think maybe yesterday in Evansville it was telegraphing what he's planning to do?
Yeah, I think September 6th or 7th, that's going to come to a head.
Interesting.
What do you think is going to be in those documents?
Well, see, that's the big question. Why are they redacted? Who knows? You could be getting into what the IG apparently is looking into, and that is the early parts of the Trump-Russia probe and how that FISA warrant initially was received, not only by the dossier, but by using press reports that they had essentially leaked to the press, and then using those as parts of the case in the FISA warrant to tap the Trump folks.
John Fund has a piece on your station's website, foxnews.com, sort of previewing the general election, saying the upset in Florida with Gillum winning the Democrat nomination means it's going to be Trump versus the loony left in November. What's the handle on the Hill with respect to Republicans? Do they want to go up against the Gillums of the world, and do they think they have a better chance against a self-avowed socialist, the Ocasio-Cortez crowd? Or because there's so much energy there, would they rather have sort of milquetoast Democrats who aren't generating enthusiasm within their ranks?
I think they'd rather have the former because, you can run an effective campaign where you get independents and maybe moderate Democrats who are not signing on to all of those policies that the Democratic Socialists list, but they also don't particularly like President Trump for one reason or another. And if you're talking about substance and policy, how to pay for things and abolishing ICE, it's a fairly easy case to make policy-wise.
Now, earlier this week, Representative Ron DeSantis was on your network and talking about Andrew Gillum and his social policies and said, we hope he doesn't monkey this up. New poll out this morning shows, from Public Policy Polls, shows DeSantis trailing Gillum by 5 percentage points. Do you think what he said on your station had an effect on this poll?
I don't know. Clearly, this race is going to go to 11 at the beginning. I think, I'm with the crowd that gives him the benefit of the doubt at the first part, and if he proves himself wrong, then you call him out. I think it was Gillum weighed in right away later on our channel on Shepard Smith's show, and we'll cover the race fairly. I would hate for it to go into that place, and I doubt it goes down to that gutter level, but it could because this is a big race.
Also, just previewing post-Labor Day activities, the Kavanaugh confirmation hearing. Do you sense that the Democrats are going to have anything more to offer in opposition than sort of their standard issue dog and donkey show?
I'm sure that they have a couple of tricks up their sleeves as far as what's in the documents that they've received. I mean, they've now received more documents on Kavanaugh than any other Supreme Court nominee in the history of our republic. And so I'm sure in hundreds of thousands of pages, there's probably a couple of nuggets there that'll be interesting or create a splash. But barring a huge aha moment, you just don't have the votes. And if you count the heads up there, you could have 2 or 3 Democrats, red state Democrats, who vote for Kavanaugh. So it's a real problem you're already seeing Chuck Schumer take it on the chin for agreeing to move forward with some of these judicial nominees and a deal with McConnell. Progressives are getting mad.
He is Bret Baier, Fox News anchor, special report, 5 p.m. Chicago time, weekdays. The book, 3 Days in Moscow, Ronald Reagan and the Fall of the Soviet Empire. Bret, thanks as always for joining us. Have a good weekend.
Have a good weekend. See you guys.
Thanks. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.